All right, hey, welcome to another edition of Rad Gear. My name is Rad, and I am hanging out here with Wade Matthews, who is the coordinator for BeReadyUtah.gov. First of all, let's throw that out there. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I am totally excited to have you because we met at the Capitol over some camouflage netting.
Exactly.
Right? So a lot of you out there know I have like indoor arenas and I do war games, and I'm always preparing for the next thing with, carrying a pocket knife in my pocket or having a Bic lighter. A lot of people want to get flint and steel, right?
Yeah.
I said, keep it easy. Look,
Exactly.
done.
Right.
A Bic lighter.
Yeah.
So Be Ready Utah is it's a government agency. Go ahead and tell me more about that.
Yeah, Be Ready Utah is the outreach program for the government agency known as the Division of Emergency Management. So we're an emergency management department, part of the Department of Public Safety. So our goal is to go out and help people learn about preparedness, take steps toward preparedness. So Be Ready Utah.
Disasters.
Disaster for all hazards, all hazard disasters. Be Ready Utah is kind of a educational program, an outreach program to get people to take action towards preparedness. Just pick something that they can do this week and next week and the week after that.
To prepare themselves.
A little closer for the next disaster.
And I know we were talking before the show, and just to get to know each other, you did mention that there is an event coming up in March where you can go and check out BeReadyUtah.gov in action at the Mountain America Center.
Yeah, the Be Ready Utah Expo at the Mountain America Expo Center.
Right.
And they can go to our website, BeReadyUtah.gov that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
And click on the Expo little expo image there, and it'll give them all the details.
Yeah, the date, the time,
Exactly.
And this will become an annual event, hopefully.
Yes. Exactly.
That's perfect. And what a better place to have, such a convention than Utah, where we have so many people who, I guess the word prepper gets thrown around a lot, and I have a different take of what a prepper might be versus like somebody who's prepared might be.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody who's prepared with their water storage, they have their maybe, growing up here, I was predominantly Mormon growing up. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is how they're referred to today, so I got to say that long name just to give them respect. However, it was like, I remember my dad saying we needed at least like a year or 2 or 3 of storage, be prepared, grains. What's your take on that?
First of all, I don't consider myself a prepper.
Yeah.
And, I am prepared. I try to be prepared. And I don't consider myself an expert either.
Right.
But over the years, I've learned these things about what to do to be a little bit better prepared for emergencies and disasters.
Sure.
I was worked for Tooele County Emergency Management for 13 years doing this preparedness outreach, and now I've been the Be Ready Utah manager for over 5 years now. And this is just me sharing information I've learned from research and talking to other experts and other people about preparedness. And so I'm out there now trying to do the same thing with other people just to get them, again, as I said, to take action towards preparedness. We have a little on our Be Ready Utah YouTube channel.
YouTube. If you've never heard of YouTube, those of you out there may have never heard of YouTube. You should check it out.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's a thing that has content that you can watch.
Videos. People love videos.
Yeah, on YouTube.
So we've got a channel there.
Be Ready Utah
exactly.
is the name of it.
That you can go and watch our little preparedness videos, but with some little like 60-second commercials that help people realize, let's talk about preparedness. We can talk about it on the elevator, next to the water cooler or the candy machine, sitting at the desk, and it'll just help us be a little more aware about doing things at home to be prepared for emergencies.
Sure, like maybe I could sit down and I could spend 2 hours relaxing, playing video games all night, or I could have taken an hour of that video game time and maybe cleaned out some jugs and put some fresh water in it and just stored it on my shelf.
Awesome.
And then now I've just still get to play my video game for another hour.
With some water storage.
Water storage already in place, instead of just wasting my entire 2 hours.
Yeah.
Playing just a video game.
And it probably wouldn't take an hour either.
No, it wouldn't. Just a little thought, just to do something to prepare yourself.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter, basically, if that water was treated when you stored it, meaning from a city system.
Right. I turned my tap on.
It's already safe to drink.
Yeah.
Then you don't need to do anything else with it. Just put it in that container, put the lid on tight, keep it in a cool, dark place, and you are good to go.
So you're telling me if I have a recycle bin at home and it has like some 2-liter bottles of 7-Up that are just empty waiting to get recycled, I could wash those out, and perhaps store some fresh water in them and put them on a shelf, maybe for like a year or two. I mean, how long do you think a 2-liter bottle of water would store? My mom used to do that. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
Well, I think depending on the type of plastic it is, which I think the 2-liter bottles are usually a 2 or a 5.
A level.
The recycle number.
Oh, I see.
You know, the little triangle that is
Okay.
on all plastics.
Yeah.
If you look for that triangle, there's a number inside. And if it's a 2, 4, or 5, that's food grade plastic meant for long-term storage. So if your 2-liter bottles were one of those numbers, you can leave it on there for 20 years and it'll still be good to drink.
And it's still good water. It's
Absolutely.
already treated from the plant, treating it
Yes.
for us.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And people don't realize that. And so how much bleach do I need to put in? And how often do I need to
Probably
rotate it?
nothing.
And then they don't do it. That's why a lot of people just don't store water. And you know how long we can live without water? 3 or 4
days.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, until you start to go into
Right.
like adrenal gland failure or something, right?
Exactly. So store water.
Right.
It's not hard.
No, and then
it's
you
not
have
hard.
it.
Yes.
At least to go another 3 days. Even
Yeah.
if you only have 3 days worth set aside.
It's better than
you
nothing
still
at
have
all.
3 days set aside.
Yeah.
Jeez. So those containers I'm seeing at big box stores, like they're like, hey, you know, they're trying to hit that market of like, we know you want to be prepared here. It's like a huge plastic water storage system. We should be getting those and storing them at our houses. Is that what you're thinking?
It's a good option. Let me
That's
tell
a
you
level
that.
up right there.
It certainly is. And it just depends on your circumstance. A lot of people don't have a house to put those types of things in.
Right.
It's an apartment, you know, or an
apartment,
a condo or something.
mobile home even.
A mobile home where they don't have the space like that. So you do the best you can with what you have.
Exactly.
That's my mantra there. Do the best you can with what you have. If all you have room for is under the bed for 2-liter bottles, then put 2-liter bottles under the bed.
Because then you
and
got
there
them.
go. Exactly.
Yeah. And you know where the water is. You're going to drink some.
Yeah, if you've got a garage where you can put some blue barrels in there, great.
Then do that.
It. But it's just up to your
What
circumstances.
about these? Okay, so you want to be prepared, but then you use those supplies. How do you think we should resupply? You know, in some type of, let's say it was a 5-day threat that happened to the valley. Let's say all power went out, blackout, fridges go dead, no more freezer chilling your food. So now you're having to hit the pantry stuff, okay, to eat your survival food, but water, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Like, should we? I mean, how do you resupply?
Well, okay. You kind of have to do a little bit of research, I guess, or whatever.
I mean, that's a thought, right?
And what sources do you have around you? Do you have a body of water, a river, a pond, or something, or which you'd have to treat? You know, boil, filter, purify.
Like a 3 to 5 minutes of boiling water. Bubbles.
Exactly.
I heard bubbles. If you see
Right.
bubbles, there's no troubles.
Yeah, perfect.
I heard that.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
In Utah, or find out where, if you're in the urban areas, larger populations, after a few days, hopefully.
Yeah.
FEMA or some other agency is going to come in and start bringing some bottled water.
Right.
Find out where those are at, and go get some more water.
So let me ask you, since we just talked about level 2, 4, 5 in the triangles, you know,
The type of plastic.
yeah, that'll last for storage life.
Yes.
So are the regular plastic bottles that we're seeing that are so easily compactable and disposable, are those something that we should be stocking up for a year's or 5-year supply?
Short term.
Short term.
Those are the number ones, like the plastic with the number 1 in the triangle. Those are not meant for long-term storage. That plastic will start breaking down and leaching chemicals into the water over time. So that's short term. I do have some of those in my water
Right.
storage, though.
I think a
but
lot of us might have
Sure,
those.
I think a lot do, and that's great. But make sure you're using it regularly. When you need some water,
Rotating it.
You brought me a bottle of water
Yeah, I
tonight.
did.
Thank you very
You're
much.
very welcome.
Just put a new one in its place.
That's right. Just so you need to keep your water source rotated
Yeah.
if the plastic is not long-term shelf. And if you didn't know that, you're hearing that right now. You can thank BeReadyUtah.gov and Wade Matthews for giving that little tidbit right there of 245 is plastic that can hold water, food, the things that you need to long-term
survival.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Long-term survival.
And nobody's thinking it's tomorrow, but it could be.
Exactly.
So I mean,
You're right. We don't know when.
We don't know when. That's the unknown. So that's my question. I like to kind of go on crazy thoughts. And are we, as Utah, what happens if Yellowstone? What are we ready for the cauldron of volcano?
Yeah. So we are in the ash zone.
Okay.
Of the Yellowstone caldera, I think it's called.
The cauldron of.
If Yellowstone ever erupted, it would be terrible. And so the ash zone means, no sunlight, no power, a lot of that different type of stuff.
Yeah, we're basically going into a cold.
Yeah.
It'll be like the solar eclipse. It froze. Like for that moment that the solar eclipse happened here, everything was kind of cold.
Did you notice that? It was awesome.
I was like, where'd the sun go?
Yeah, it makes a big
love
difference.
you. We're going to build pyramids to the sun god.
It
sun
makes a big difference.
wins. So if the ash happens, when it happens, because it's there, then we're in the ash zone of Yellowstone.
That's right.
Okay, so what do you suggest? Just an umbrella?
An umbrella. I like it. An umbrella is a good start. Let's start with that.
An umbrella.
And then you're, again, food and water storage, communications plan, because we'll have some time to react.
Yes.
We'll have some time to gather together our people, our stuff, and if we have to get out, we can get out that way.
For sure.
But so have that plan of using that time to gather your people and your stuff. Have a meeting place outside your home, a meeting place outside your neighborhood. So, if we can't communicate by phone, because you never know what's going to happen to the phone systems.
No, and so I actually have UHF ham radios that are programmable, right? And there's actually something coming out recently that's like, you should probably get one. And you should probably learn how to use it, and you should probably get licensed on it for the legalities of it.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not sure on the exact date of that, but I do have them, and you want to get one because then we can talk.
Yeah, exactly. Amateur radio is probably one of the last communication systems that will fail, and one of the first ones to come back up in a disaster because it's all self-maintained.
It is. My dad was a Green Beret. Okay,
awesome.
So he was a 18 Echo, and that is a communications expert. And so his whole thing at home was he had ham radios. And so we just sit there on the ham radio talking to people. And then I found out a kid in my neighborhood's dad had a ham radio because we started talking to each other.
That's cool.
It's like, oh, you have a ham radio too?
That's cool.
Okay, yeah. What's your call sign? My dad called me Little Caesar when I was young. And then I got upset because there was a restaurant called Little Caesars. It's like, I'm not that guy. But little did I know what he meant by Little Caesar.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I get that.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, ham radios, communication, because if you can't communicate, you might get friendly fired.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm up in front of you. I'm ahead of you. I'm on the side of you. I'm behind you. I have the water.
Yeah.
You
want to communicate. Communication is so important in any of those situations you just described.
Yes.
And it's one of the first things that's probably going to go down in a disaster.
So even like a CB radio, if you can get a CB, like Channel 9 is an emergency channel. You can get on there and somebody's on a ham radio listening to you.
Exactly.
And they can maybe help you.
Right.
I love that. So communication is key. So we've talked about storing water, communications, having a way to talk to the outside. So I was delivering dockets to law firms in the tornado here in Utah. I was all over the city. That was my job. I would drive up and down to all these different buildings. The Marriott, before they tore it down, it became City Creek Crossroads. Always taking lawyers their boxes of files.
Wow.
Right, and storing them.
That's cool.
And then the tornado hit. And then all of a sudden, everybody freaked out. There was a casualty or two. They were setting up the outdoor retailer.
Right, the outdoor show.
What would you be thinking right now if that was going on, like a tornado boom?
Well, first of all, let me tell you what I was doing at that moment.
Yeah, tell me.
I was a producer at Fox 13 News.
Okay.
At that time, I was the noon newscast producer. We had just gone off the air.
Sure.
And then all the radios and telephones, everything started going crazy. Tornado downtown Salt Lake.
That's right.
Nobody believed it because they've never been here before. And we're not the Midwest.
Me too. We're surrounded by all the mountains.
Exactly. Tornadoes can't happen here.
But
Wrong.
It did.
It did. A big one. And you're right. It killed 2 people.
Yeah. The guy setting up the tent on a scissor lift. I mean, I was literally driving downtown going to 6 South Viaduct before it's all been taken down.
Yeah.
And that's where the warehouse.
On that day? So did you see it?
I was like, where is it? Where is it exactly hitting? Where's the path of this tornado? Because later that night I was supposed to go do security for Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, and a couple other rappers that were coming into town. They were playing at Franklin Covey. And I called out. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go into work today. I was like, the clouds were just still so gray and ugly. And I was like, they're playing on a stage and lightning. And I was like, I'm going to call out sick.
Yeah.
So I called out sick for that show because I started to feel about myself. Is that crazy?
No, I think that's a normal response in a situation like that.
I don't want to be in this tornado's path today.
Yeah. That's a normal response. And what it does is creates awareness, right?
Right.
That things can happen. bad things can happen.
It does.
And we need to be prepared for those things. That's knowledge is power.
It is.
Preparedness gives us peace of mind. We talked about that communication. If we can communicate with the loved ones and get back together, that's half the battle, in my opinion.
Yeah, because what are you searching for? Where's Billy?
Exactly.
Have you seen Billy?
That's half the
battle. I want to hear from
battle.
my dad. Is my dad in there?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And I've worked with my kids in situations where there might be some, I hope that they've paid attention, but we'll walk through the local Target and I'll say, where's your exits out of nowhere?
Cool.
Right? And just
awareness.
Like, where's your exits?
Yeah.
To my kids. And they're like, they look up at the ceiling for the exits. And I'm like, right.
Yeah.
Thank you. And what are you supposed to do? And they're like, we're just supposed to crawl to the exit and get out of the situation, and then you'll find us. And I'm like, right, I'll find you. You just get out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's simple. So we'll be.
They're looking for the green sign.
They're looking for the exits up above. And if you go to Target, you'll see they actually have pretty prominent Target exit signs pointing out the doors, the back door through the milk. I said, don't be afraid.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be afraid to go through the milk department to get out.
What's been happening recently in the news?
I know.
Every time I'm going to the store, I'm looking, okay, if something happened out front, which direction am I heading?
I went to the movies last night, and I was like, there's one exit.
Yeah.
I hate thinking like that today, but it's true.
That's what makes survivors.
Right? But we're thinking like that. As soon as the movie's like, okay, now I'm suspension of disbelief. Here comes Spider-Man, But in the beginning, I knew where my exit was.
In the real world, we have to be aware of those things. Exactly. But like I say, it's you're right. It's terrible that we have to think like that, but that's the world we live in now.
It is.
And that's what will make us survivors in those situations.
It's true. And are we, as Utah, I'm sure you work with other agencies in other states, and you guys all have, even like a Facebook group that you guys probably like, hey, Bill, hey, Wade. Yeah. Louisiana's doing this, Utah's doing this.
Exactly.
But what happens is there any type of like if there's like some type of biological something happening here, are we ready for that? Like what should I think about if all of a sudden Ebola biological happened in Utah?
Yeah. So a pandemic of any
pandemic, that would be the word.
The protective action, because it's important to know all the protective actions for all the hazards we face wherever we live.
Yes.
The protective action for a pandemic is social isolation. Stay home. Reverse quarantine. Don't go to work. Don't go to the store. Don't go to the church.
Pull yourself out of the situation.
Exactly. Stay away from it. And that may have to be for a few days, a week,
year,
a month,
whatever
or
it may
longer.
be. Yeah.
So you have to kind of be prepared to take care of yourself at home for a while. But yeah, in the biologicals, that's we do try to be ready for all these different types of hazards. We've got some response teams with the level A suits that can suit up and come in and try to clean up and
like the movie Outbreak comes to mind.
Exactly.
Like looking for this monkey.
Exactly.
Right. But it's like
but until then, and there's going to be suffering.
Yes.
There'll be death. But avoid that as much as possible with social isolation. Stay home.
So if your neighbor comes over to you and is unhealthy and is trying to force themselves in there, are you to take precautions? I mean, I want to be good to my neighbor, but what if my neighbor is the infected?
We laugh about it a little bit, calling it our zombie plan. And for many of us, it does take that little bit of humor to actually put a plan into place.
Right.
Do you have a zombie plan?
Do you have a real, mean, if they're like crawling up your door like a slug trying to have you help them and you cannot help them?
Yeah, everybody's going to have to make that decision if they face that.
And that's
situation.
the heartache, and that's the distraughtness that we have to be prepared for. So I do a lot of war games, and a lot of folks kind of say airsoft might have a bad habit. And I'm like, yeah, the bad habit is hunting other people. Because we're out there playing war games.
The nature of the game.
The nature of the game is the bad habit. Because here I am getting desensitized to this world.
Well, yeah. At the same time, though, how many of us grew up playing cowboys and Indians?
I did.
And
had our BB guns going up the mountains.
Yeah.
My dad and his team would be like, come on, little Radel, let's go up the hills.
Me and my brothers would play Army out in the haystack.
So you still do play Army, don't you?
I do.
So do I. So that's why we are friends. And
right.
So so you're a serious dude about your job.
I do. I am, and I love it.
And you care about Utahns as your neighbor, period.
And I want them to be ready.
But you have a hobby.
Yes.
And you step outside yourself. And you, if I can say it, do World War II reenacting and maybe others. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
It is so fun. It's an addiction.
I know.
You call it a bad habit. I call it an addiction.
It is an addiction because you need the gear, the spats.
Exactly.
You got to have the spats.
It's never ending.
No.
I'm always finding something else I want or something new I need.
Something green has just. What is that? What's that khaki green over there at the aisle?
So I get my fix going through antique stores, and a lot of times I'm in a hurry. But I've trained myself
to be in a hurry.
I can buzz through these little antique store booths, and that khaki pops out at me so fast.
So fast.
It does.
So fast. You're like, that's Paratrooper, 1943 Paratrooper scabbard for my M1 carbine folding stock. I'll take that. $27, no problem.
Exactly. I was at an antique store back in Colorado earlier this year, and just turned around in the little shadows. I found a pair of black jump boots.
Yes.
That were just my size in excellent condition.
Done.
Exactly. Oh boy, did I snag those up. But yeah, I love collecting World War IIs. Well, all military. I've got stuff from World War I on up to current day.
Even
basically.
today, huh?
Yeah. Most of it though, I focus on World War II.
Right.
And I do with some friends, brothers, relatives, and a good friend of mine. We dress up in authentic World War II era gear, including the weapons, and we march in the parades, we fire blanks, we walk around the park.
You'll do reenactment war games as well, maybe? Like
we haven't quite gotten into that. I would love to do that.
Where you guys are like
acting out.
Yeah, like Iwo Jima.
Yeah. No.
Like Marines versus Japan.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I haven't quite taken it that far yet. Our reenacting is basically marching in the parades. We've got a bunch of military vehicles driving behind us.
Probably give a shout out to the Utah Motor Vehicle Club, the military club here on this, because those guys are always sending out real handwritten letters to their members.
Okay.
With a stamp. Like they care. They're like, meetings this weekend.
Yeah, it's old school for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, they'll follow behind us in the parade because one of our guys, our squad members, he's a little old. He's actually a Vietnam vet, so he doesn't quite make the trek on the parade routes all the way. So he hops in one of the Jeeps and finishes the parade in the Jeep. It is so fun though.
But he's still in it. He's in the Jeep.
He's still in it.
He's still like, I'm in the Jeep.
He's carrying the M1. Let's see, the Thompson.
Sure. And probably like 60s, 1919s, probably the Ma Deuce back in Nam. I mean, a lot of surplus stuff rolled into Vietnam on both sides.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's look at who was funneling all the AKs. That's a lot of surplus.
Yes, it is.
That was falling into both sides. And I love to talk about all of that, especially the theater of operations of Vietnam, because I feel like I had a previous life there and it was lost there.
That was almost, I was going to say almost my era as well. I was born during the Vietnam War, so I didn't really realize it was happening when I was younger. But I heard so much about the Vietnam War growing up.
Yeah.
Then we had the Gulf War when I was in college, and then now we've got a new war that's my generation.
1990-91.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're freeing everybody from Saddam in Kuwait. And I remember I was probably 13 at that point. So I was born in 1977. So I'm definitely a 70s child.
Yeah.
You're probably 70.
67.
67.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. So you lived through the summer of 69,
yes.
man.
Woodstock.
Let me high five you on that just to say I did, okay? And that's awesome. And so this is what's really cool about rad gear, right? Is learning about the different gear that you go to World War II reenacting with. You probably have the Garand.
I do.
Then one Garand. Clack, 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 ching.
Yes. Yeah, that clip.
Yes.
The Garand clip.
What's your favorite World War II movie that you think?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going through Band of Brothers right now.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
It's an awesome series.
That's what's up.
Yes. Let's see. I've got quite a wide ranging.
So would you say Tora 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 or The Longest Day?
The Longest Day.
The Longest Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Dirty Dozen or The Dirty Dozen?
Yeah.
Nothing can quite beat The Dirty Dozen.
I know.
I Need You 13.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
You're all on death row. Come with me.
Exactly.
Whatever you say, Lee Marvin.
I'm following you.
And he was in the military. He was
a lot of those actors.
Not Pierce Brosnan, but what's his name? Death Wish.
Marlon Brand.
No, Marlon Brando, but I'm thinking, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He's in it. He wears the beanie.
I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, man, but my grandma loved you. When I think of your name, I'll come back and put it in the comments. Not Marlon Brando. Well, here, let me find it out real quick.
Yeah.
But while I take a break and find out who that actor was in The Dirty Dozen, I just want to give a shout out to who's my sponsor.
Okay.
And that's Crate Club Gear and crateclub.us. And it's a box of cool stuff that's tactical. And, what I got in it recently is this right here. I'm going to go to my GoPro right here and show it off. This is the Mastering Fear, a Navy SEAL's guide by my buddy Brandon Webb, who wrote this along with John David Mann, and I believe that's through St. Martin's Press. And I want you to go check this book out if you're having an opportunity to see it on the video, or if you're listening. It's just going to talk to you about conquering, stepping off into the great abyss of business and life, and how to just overcome your self-doubt and find your self-worth. And I think that Brandon has really put a lot of heart into this book, and I want you guys to go check it out. And you can get this in your Crate Club subscription when you do go after that crateclub.us. So check that out and tell them Rad sent you, and read Mastering Fear, and then let them know on Amazon what you think about it. And let me see if I can find in my mind Death Wish. Oh, Death Wish. We're going to find it because we have technology. Death Wish movie.
Charles Bronson.
Thank you.
Charles Bronson.
I was saying Pierce Brosnan, and that's the dude from Bond.
Yeah.
James Bond.
Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson. Yeah, my grandma liked you a lot, Charles.
Yeah.
So, what would you think if we had a war game and you came out and played with me?
I think it would be awesome.
Right? It'd be kind of modern.
Yeah.
Maybe multicam uniform. You can choose the rifle I have that you can borrow. It's an airsoft rifle.
Okay.
We use biodegradable BBs.
Okay.
So
awesome.
we have that conscious.
I go around the yard picking up BBs in my backyard because my kids' BBs, I don't know if they're biodegradable or not. They're supposed to be, but I go around picking them up.
That's fine. Either colored so that it doesn't affect the visual of the BB, like a dark brown, black, or green.
Yeah, natural.
Yeah, exactly. Or you go after the straight bio, which degrades in about 4 years in the ocean.
Okay.
Or in a compost heap, it degrades in about 65 days and turns to gases. Wow. Yeah, so it depends on its setting. So if it's in a prime setting for it to compost, it will very quickly. But if it's like in a river or an ocean where it has to have the water running over it, it takes it about 4 to 6 years, but still it degrades.
How intense are your war games? Kind of getting up there.
Well, we have quite a few sets of tents. I don't know how intense you want to get, but that's punny. I know. Yes, I do dad jokes all day. But it's intense. It's like, hey, we're moving forward. It's like I've got guys on my 6th. It's like fire, return fire. I've just started learning to say check instead of reloading. Because when you say reloading, it's like, oh, the enemy. I should probably push, right? So now I just say check, check, check. They don't know what I'm checking, but my guys know what I'm checking for ammo, or I'm just checking my weapon. Okay. Making sure it's functionality. Not exactly 100% check. And so, it's as intense as you want to make it. I have a tank that we built, and it's built off of an Isuzu Rodeo. And Ajax is my business partner and best buddy and a war game enthusiast. Anyways, he went into the shed with a blowtorch and an Isuzu Rodeo chassis and came out with a fully functional tank that we got registered in the state of Utah as a tank. Oh. I was at the DMV. No way. Had to have Highway Patrol come out and reassess the vehicle. Are you kidding? They gave it a whole new VIN number. I own a tank.
Drivable down the road?
It could be, but we don't make it street legal.
Oh, okay.
Because then we have to maintain its tires.
Yeah, but it's registered as that.
It's registered as an off-road tank.
No
way. So we can go all over the Utah desert like an ATV.
And so you've shown me, or you've given me your patch, actually.
Yeah, of the tank.
Is that's with me the tank? In it.
Yeah, yes. So one of our girls that plays, her name is Felicia, and she she just got engaged to an airborne 19th attached guy. Anyway, she's been wargaming, and so now they're getting married. Congratulations when you hear this, or not, whatever. Hopefully, congratulations. Anyways, she was just inspired by the tank and made that art piece, and then said, "Hey, Rad, we love you. Here's our version of you in this tank." Yeah, and they made it look like the Scooby-Doo mobile a little bit, and like a little bit like that 60s 70s vibe with my head sticking out of the turret. Exactly. And
your beard.
I'm flattered by my friends and those in the community that love me to draw these pictures of me or give me a patch. So what she did, she gave me the art. Okay. And then I turned it into a patch. Okay. Somebody gives me artwork of myself, I turn it into a sticker, or like right here, this logo. was designed by Tomahawk Annie, and she was a designer. And she said, Rad, you should be on shirts. I said, I don't want to be on shirts. I just want my logo on my shirts. This is the Ajax Customs logo for my business, just to tell you. She went on the internet and found me doing this pose of like rock and roll somewhere, and she turned it into this. So now this has become a logo shirt.
That is so cool.
So this is Tomahawk Annie. I mean, she's now the background for my podcast. So whoever this reaches in Scotland or, wherever they may be watching this, she's now just visited them too.
Yes, exactly.
And so I love to pay it forward with, really, she was like, you should be on the shirt. And I was like, I don't want to be on the shirt. And I know
it's such a cool picture.
It is a cool, she did a good job.
Yeah, I'll say.
So if I put you on a shirt, you would buy them all as well. You'd be like, I'm now in business. I'm selling my face. Done deal. Who doesn't love you more than you?
Yeah.
Right. So she really hit me with it and said, here, Rad.
Yeah,
you should be on a shirt. And I was like, done. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that you're a great person for what you have done. And my question is, I don't know if you chose to do this when you were young.
Oh,
I know. I talked to, or if you chose to do this when you got older, or if there was something from Tooele. It's like, hey, this job opened up. But what made you go from high school to now I want to call you a director, but I'm going to say communications manager,
right,
coordinator, director.
That's it.
Okay.
And I will say, yes, I did want to do this when I was younger. It was actually, it was more a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher. And when you came in here this afternoon and we sat down and you mentioned I've been teaching this
entire time.
Right.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily emergency preparedness that I wanted to teach, but I did have that desire when I was young to be a teacher. Then I mentioned I was a producer of Fox 13 News, so my background is in communications, my degree, but I did have a job, as you mentioned, a job opportunity come up at Tooele County Emergency Management to be their public information officer.
And you were already doing public relations.
Yes.
Communications.
Communications with television. So I became the public information officer for Tooele County Emergency Management. That's when I got my start in this emergency preparedness education. And again, like I said at the beginning, I don't consider myself an expert. This is stuff we can all do. This is stuff we should all do.
Right.
These little things, simple things, make it easy, make it simple, make it doable. And that's what I love to go out and talk to people about. We'll come out to any groups, church group, school group, business group,
Scouts.
community group, scouts, and talk to people about preparedness. We do set up a booth. I don't think booths are as quite as effective.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, it's like a shout message. Hey, we're here. Hey, we exist. Hey, we exist.
Take this whistle.
I have 15 other people coming to get a whistle. I want to talk to you more about your water and your storage. Please go to, bereadyutah.gov.
But if we have a captive audience like your podcast right here, this is what's beneficial. This is what people they're tuned in because they want to hear.
They can rewind this and hear again what you just said.
Yeah. Okay. What do I need to go back and do? Rewind this and then listen.
They said 2, 4, and 5. Yeah, that's such a cool thing that I now know.
Yeah.
And who am I going to tell that to? I'll be like, hey, did you know that the 2, 4, and 5?
on your barrels, your water containers?
Yeah, on the recycle logo.
Yeah,
exactly. 2, 4, 5 is what you want to store water, and you don't have to really treat it if it comes out of your faucet.
And it's easy to do now. Everybody can store water.
Right,
it's
Zach. Did you know that you don't have to treat your water if it's stored for 20 years out of your tap?
Wow, my mind has been destroyed.
Did you know that?
Torn asunder. I didn't know these things.
No, and this is Zach, dude. I mean, really, right? You can take, if your 2-liter bottle of soda is a level 2, 4, or 5 in the triangle that says recycled, it's storable for like 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
But the little water bottles that you buy at out of the vending machine, those are not.
Right.
Okay, this is rare, but it's a double.
Thank you, Zach. I got to pull Zach in whenever I can, man.
And that's awesome. So let's ask, Zach if his water heater is fastened to the wall. If he knows if his water heater is fastened to the wall.
Zach, is your water heater fastened to the wall at home?
I live in an apartment. I have no idea what the water heater even looks like.
But now that we're talking about it, you might say, is it? Because what happens if it did spill over?
Yeah, a gas leak.
Because it's hooked up to your gas line.
It is. So we want to fasten our water heaters to the wall.
And he lives there.
His landlord could do it.
He should be aware of that
He should.
because he does live in the facility.
It's a risk.
And if that water heater were to tip and was not secured, then that's your booty, bro.
Wow. I never, all these things, I never think about. So yeah, I'm going to find out tonight. Thank you.
Go find your water heater and see if it's fastened to the wall. So
And same with me. I'm thinking about it right now because I had a new water heater put in my house in 2009, an energy efficient one. And I'm like, did it get mounted to the
Good question.
wall?
I don't know. So we should find out.
I should walk downstairs when I get home, and it's on my list of things to do now.
See, that's awesome. So that's one more step. You're one step closer to being prepared for emergencies and disasters.
And then having that knowledge, knowing that it is secure, I can move forward.
Peace of mind. Move on to the next thing.
And filling up my 2-liter bottles of water to store.
Yeah, your next objective.
Maybe even 3 of them. Hey, Rad, maybe I'm not the best at organizational of that today, but I did 3 today.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 more. And now I've got 15 2-liter bottles of water. And if something were to happen, well, we can go hit that water.
You've got some water for a while.
Because the power can go out here. And not only that, I live in a community here that was affected by the fluoride issue that happened in my water.
Okay.
And that was a big deal. We weren't allowed to drink any water.
Yeah.
And I'll just say I lived in Sandy.
Right.
And I lived in the zone.
Did you?
Like my streets are red. And they came by and did my test on my water.
How long was that?
We didn't drink water out of the faucets for at least 3 days.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, no shower. Weren't supposed to shower. So it was like, that was an epiphany to my wife and myself of like, we should be prepared.
Yeah.
And here I am talking about carrying a Bic lighter in your pocket on camera or like, do you have this tool to eat with?
Yeah.
But what about me? What about my own home?
Because we can't live without water for 3 or 4 days, like we said. And you had another source. It wasn't an earthquake where everybody's water was gone. That was an isolated
The city
incident.
stepped up about a day or so later, said, come pick up at the Reams.
So it wasn't life-threatening.
No.
But what if that city wasn't there?
Exactly.
What if this was not just that little area of Sandy, if it was the whole valley? Then where are we going to get
if it was a meteor that hit and really disrupted some things? I mean, at that point, it's like, there's only so much we can prepare for.
Yeah.
You know?
We do, right. So like I said earlier.
Are we prepared for that? Do you have something to say about a meteor or asteroid hitting us here?
No.
Okay. Just
I don't have anything
get some
to say.
water set because you'll need some water.
Yes, to store water.
Store water.
Store water just in case the meteor and still have your communication plan.
Yeah.
Your meeting place outside your home, outside your neighborhood, and your out-of-state telephone contact or your texting person out of state.
Say that one more time.
So your communication plan should start with your out-of-state telephone contact, a person that everybody in the family knows their number, and you'll text them or call them or whatever.
Good idea.
They relay messages and says, Rad's at the studio. He's going to meet you at your meeting place. Yeah, your wife, she's at home. She'll meet you at your meeting place if you can't get back.
Haven't heard from your daughter.
Haven't heard from your daughter
Yep,
yet.
okay.
Go to your meeting place. Hopefully she'll be there.
Exactly.
So your out-of-state contact, then having those meeting places determined in advance.
Yes.
One outside your home. If your house is on fire, a gas leak, or earthquake, you go outside, take accountability.
Stop,
1, 2,
drop,
3,
and
4.
roll. Know your
We're all here.
exits in your house.
Yes.
Get out.
Take accountability. We're all here. We're all safe. Or if we're all separated, have that meeting place if you can't get back home. The church, grandma's house across town. Someplace else where you're going to meet your family members. And again, peace of mind. I'm being reunited with my loved ones. So
right. And then at that point, a family that trains together stays together.
Yeah. So practice these things.
Right.
Practice these things. Practice drop, cover, and hold on for earthquakes during Utah Shakeout in April.
So April, we're having Utah Shakeout.
Yes, Utah Shakeout is April, and that's when everybody gets underneath the desk, table, chair, hold on till the shaking stops, and that
it's
gives
war games, man.
Yeah,
this is just war games.
Good point.
All we're doing is war games. We're just training for the possibility. And I tell people all the time in airsoft war games, right? It's like, oh hey, I'm in the Army. I'm like, yeah, but if you don't take what you've learned in the Army to combat, you've just been war gaming. And they're like, you're right. It's like I haven't really I've just been training to do this job.
Yeah.
A police officer who trains on a bank robbery his whole life never gets the call.
Yeah.
He's like, but
I trained. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm so ready.
So have those drills.
So trained.
Learn these things and then practice them.
Right.
So it is. I like that analogy where it is. We can make a game out of it. Have fun doing it.
That's right.
And then it doesn't need to be so scary if the real thing ever really happens. Because hey, we've done this. How often have we already gone out to the meeting place outside the house?
Exactly.
Or drank the water out of the 2-liter bottle.
Yeah, I know you're 14, but I taught you to drive stick just in case.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you can come pick me up.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I mean, like those little things that you would learn on the farm.
Yeah.
Right, like growing up on the farm with the truck, you learned at 14. Some people drove at 12.
Exactly.
Okay, and so those skills that you've learned at a young age might come into play when you're 16, 17, or I don't know. There's just preparing, And again, there is the prepper, who is like on the TV show, who has the bunker dug in.
Yeah.
And I'm not all about burying my food.
No.
And I don't know about others that are out there burying your food, because you'll forget maybe where you buried your food. And then I heard other people might be out mine detecting, or just like out doing their hobby, and stumble onto your cache of stuff in the middle of nowhere. And then they now have it.
Yeah.
And then you go get it.
Yeah.
But it's gone.
Now you have nothing.
No, because you buried it. And so I'm not saying you're all bad for burying your stuff.
No, everybody is in a different situation.
Right.
And everybody can choose for themselves what's the best thing for them.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not a prepper, but I'm not going to say don't be a prepper.
Right.
If you want to take it to that level, fine, that's up to you. But everybody ought to do a little bit something towards preparedness. The bottles of water under the bed, the communication plan. Most importantly, knowing the protective actions. Drop, cover, and hold on for earthquake. When thunder roars, go indoors for lightning. Turn around, don't drown, go to higher ground for flash flooding.
Turn around. Yeah, flash floods. That's something we deal with in Utah.
Yeah.
Lightning shoots sideways.
Yes.
And up and down.
And apparently it can shoot through car windshields. They just had that on the news last night.
Somebody got hit through
I don't think anybody
windshield.
was in the car.
The car took the hit.
the car, and it blew up the dash and everything. That's such a rare thing, though.
Right, and they always say stay in your car because you're insulated with your tires.
Exactly. You think that's a safe place, but on the news last night, it
zapped right through.
Yes.
And who knows if it came up through or down through.
Good point.
Like you're sitting, it's up your seat.
Yeah.
Dude.
No good.
Okay, so turn around.
Turn around, don't drown, go
find
to higher ground.
Higher ground.
Yeah. And then the one these all kind of came from the first one we all learned since we were little kids. What was the very first?
Stop, drop, and roll, in my opinion.
That's it. That's the very first. That's the original.
Yes.
Protective action. Then there's one that we all should know this day and age: run, hide, fight. Active killer, active shooter situation.
Get off the X is kind of what I say.
Get off the X.
A lot of folks in my world come through like, oh, hey, I have a concealed carry. I'm going to defend the entire Walmart. Unfortunately, that's the place that this is happening at, or the situation. But you become a threat to law enforcement when you're in there.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, actually Brandon, he was in New York about a year or two ago when there was like an active shooter happened in JFK.
Wow.
And he was in there. And all he said was there was nervous, trigger-fingered police officers flagging him, looking for some bad guy. And people were like, oh, you should have gone this route or that route. And he's like, what I did was I grabbed myself, a couple other people who were around me, and I said, I know, let's get out of here. And they went and they hopped the fence out of the facility and Ubered back home.
Yeah.
Got out of the X. And he was telling people, if you're on the X, you're in the situation.
Yes.
Danger close.
Exactly.
So be careful out there.
You're right. That's a terminology that's becoming more common in the education for these types of situations. Get off the X.
The X is the problem. The X is ground zero. The X is the issue. The X is the threat. Somebody's in there with a gun. Get away.
Yeah.
Get away from the X.
And the run, hide, fight terminology is not in that order. It's whatever is the best for you at that time.
Right.
It maybe there's no exit, so you're too close to the situation to run off the X. Now you either have to fight.
You may have to just fight.
You just may have to fight, or if you have an opportunity to hide, you can't get out. You can't get over the fence. There's no doors. Hide, lock the doors, wrap your belt around the hinge. Barricade yourself.
You seem Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Don't be Oppum.
Yeah.
On the stairs. With the ammo around his neck.
Yeah, exactly.
Finish what you're doing.
Right.
Right. Okay. I get it. Like that. There's a time to hide.
Yes. And then there's a time to fight.
There's a time to fight.
Exactly.
And I'm just referencing World War II, Saving Private Ryan, Oppum.
That's exactly.
And when we're fighting and I work with people, I'm like, don't be an Oppum. And they look at me like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, I know what I mean by that. We need you to follow through.
Exactly.
So
his buddy died because he sat on the steps.
He could have just gone 5 more steps up.
I know.
And just like kicked that guy in the ribs.
Exactly.
But what did he do? He just froze.
Right.
Didn't react. He just froze.
And we call that milling in emergency management. Milling or freezing is people don't take action.
Right.
They just sit. They want more information. What's happening? What are you doing? What should I? They just don't act.
Somebody needs to respond. It can't just be you.
Yeah.
I know, Wade, you're the man and you're at the top of the echelon here, but Wade's not going to just be at your door immediately. Wade's got his own door to take care
Exactly, because who ultimately is responsible for our safety?
of. Aren't we not?
We
ourselves?
are ourselves. You're absolutely right.
I mean, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so we are responsible for our own safety, and that's why we need to take these steps toward preparedness and protection.
That's
and
right.
Know the protective action.
I'll protect myself, and then I'll protect my family. That's why they say on a plane, when they're briefing you, when the oxygen comes down, put yours on first.
Yes.
And then focus on your child.
Exactly.
Don't worry about, put it on you, and then you can breathe. Now you can focus on what you need to do.
And save your family.
And save your family.
Exactly.
And then you can help with your neighbors.
Speaking of airplanes, can I tell you something I learned just recently about groupthink? Is something else that kind of gets in the way with our emergency preparedness, emergency response. What's the crowd doing? I want to follow the crowd. I want to stay. Sometimes that might be good.
Walking to the light.
Yeah, and sometimes that's not. People in real situations have died because they passed up a real working exit to follow the crowd. They passed up an exit to follow the crowd, and they died in a plane.
Maybe because they were just focusing on where this person's leading, and they're confused.
Groupthink or milling. They're waiting to see more information. What's somebody else doing instead of thinking for themselves and acting. On the other hand, World Trade Center, 9/11.
True.
There were people that were just sitting there, stunned, not doing anything. But then this group came through and saw them. Come with us.
Right.
So some people were saved. Some people were saved because the group took them with them.
So they were kind of zombied from the shock.
Exactly.
It wasn't like they were maybe milling.
Yeah.
They were maybe like just shell shocked and like concussions. And,
fear, lack of knowing what to do.
Yeah. Just like, did this just happen? Like taking their glasses off and like just like wiping the ash off their face. I remember it live. Like that 9/11. I just wanted to say, we weren't even ready.
No.
For that.
No, we've come so far since then.
So far.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Being prepared in the last 18 years of that.
Some of the other things, speaking of that is knowing the warning systems. How are you going to get information in a disaster?
Right.
That's something that was refined after 9/11. Wireless emergency alerts right here on our cell phones.
We get the Amber Alerts. We're like, hey, this is a warning for the system.
Weather watches and warnings.
It went off on accident in Hawaii.
Yes.
Or whatever they said. It was like missile threat.
Yes. Yes.
That's real. That exists.
Absolutely.
That threat real.
That's a warning system that we all have, and we need to pay attention to those. Yeah, unfortunately, in Hawaii,
was a real threat.
That was an accident.
I know that, but that's a real threat button.
Yes.
Inbound missile.
Yes.
Imminent.
Yeah, they're
that's
close
a real
to North
thing.
Korea, and that was their fear.
Yeah. Holy cow.
So, what are the warning systems? How are you going to get information, and make sure you are following it, following instructions if there's instructions given on what to do before the threat arrives?
So here in Utah. You mentioned you're from Tooele, or you worked in the Tooele County. You probably know this very well. They have the Honeycomb NBC surround sound system all the way through the county. So if there's any type of leakage of anything from the depot or the dugway or anything that...
Yes, the siren system was a product of the Deseret Chemical Depot's Chemical Stockpile Emergency Preparedness Program.
Doolittle Road area, right?
Yeah, and that's still out there and still maintained. That siren system is part of the warning system for Tooele County residents. Highway message boards, cell phone wireless emergency alerts, EAS on TV and radio.
Right.
Even telephone calling trees can be a warning system for your family and neighbors and so on.
And EBS, if that's what you said, is Emergency Broadcast System. We all grew up with it like, boop, boop. This is a test.
Exactly.
You know that sound, and it will be followed by, this is not a test. You need
some threat is approaching. Yeah. Take this action.
Holy cow. What's our biggest earthquakes? Probably Utah's
biggest risk for widespread disaster and damage. Yes,
earthquake.
By that I mean it's going to impact a lot of people. Mm-hmm. It's going to damage a lot of buildings. It will cause a lot of injury and death. And the Utah Seismograph. Utah Geological Survey and Seismic Safety Commission did this joint study a couple years ago that said there's a 50% chance of a large, meaning like a 7 magnitude quake within the next 50 years. And
so my thought automatically is Great Salt Lake area, right? Like all of these homes that have opened up in the West Bountiful area, everybody that's encroaching into that. When I moved here in 83 in the flood, that was flood.
That was exactly floodplain.
That was water. I remember, like Legacy Highway was water.
So we don't have the threat of hurricane, and we're not next to an ocean where we could get a tsunami off of an earthquake, but what could come off the lake is called a seiche. Seiche.
Okay.
And I'm not exactly sure how to spell it, but it's
a
seiche. And it would be a rush of water coming off the lake inland.
Right.
And it could cause flooding and so on.
And it could come inland to where it was once before, just like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So with an earthquake, that's a very high-risk area, is it not?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you another reason why.
Not trying to kill the market of the housing out there, but literally.
Something that people ought to be aware of is called liquefaction.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it's where the earth turns to soil. It turns to like water. It acts like water. Like,
underneath the hard dirt.
Yeah, it acts like water. You look at the Christchurch, New Zealand earthquakes. In fact, it was coming up through the ground. There's videos of it if you go online and look it up. And that stuff just kind of turns to concrete. It kind of turns so hard after the fact.
Right.
But when it's happening, the shaking is a lot more violent because the ground is acting like water. But if you're up a little bit higher on the benches towards the mountains, a little bit more on bedrock, less damage possibly depending on the type of structure.
True.
So
just been taught that, an earthquake has a wave effect underground that like gets bigger and bigger and bigger as it's rupturing. And the more that you're on a bedrock type environment, the safer you are from that.
Yes.
And the more that you're out into the marshes
and the sandy soils
and that's
so
a bigger wave hitting that.
It's like it's liquefaction.
It is liquefaction.
The water table is a little bit higher there, and that is a factor as well.
And so that's on your board of things to keep track of, right, out there in that west area.
Yeah. So if you think that you might live in a location like that, make sure you know and practice drop, cover, and hold on. That's
what I'm talking about, right? Because this is where we do live. And you are the man in charge of drop. Stop, drop, and roll, man. That's all I'm going to say, right? There's a lot of that one, though. Turn around, don't drown, find high ground. Yeah, I like that.
That's for flash flooding.
Yeah, so I just learned that today.
Yeah, and then you'll hopefully always remember that, just like stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah,
and those are how we survive, and that's what we want to be. We want to be survivors.
That's exactly right.
So know the protective actions so we can be survivors.
Well, let me see, Zach. How long have I been talking? For about an hour. You're like the tip of the iceberg of this. This is like. There's so much more.
Yeah, we could talk a long time.
But what you can do is go to beready.gov. And even if you're listening not in Utah, you can go to beready.gov and probably read a lot of the material or look in your own state's area or contact someone in your state legislation to say, hey, we should be like Utah. And we should have somebody helping us prepare for what's about to happen, because I probably would not want underground storage in New Orleans.
No.
So you should probably be thinking smart about your preparedness. And, I work with the Weeblos in Scouts right now.
Awesome.
Son's about to get his Aeroflight, so I'll be moving into that realm probably soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was a Weeblos den leader.
I am. I help out with Angela. Shout out. What's up, Angela? And I think that we'll call on you to come to the Scouts and talk one-on-one with these guys, in that classroom setting where they're wanting to learn from you to be prepared. They want to know how to make a fire out of a
flint and steel.
Yeah, right.
I teach that.
Even though you have a BIC, it's okay to learn how to do flint and steel in that need. The spark, you need that.
Backup plans.
I got a 6-pack of BIC lighters.
Yeah, there you go. That's your backup plan.
Well, my backup plan is just to come move next door to you.
Okay.
All right. And I'll bring some supplies.
Awesome.
And then we'll just have our cans of soup connected by string for communications. I say, you got me? You'll be like, yes, Rad, over. And I think that if anybody wants to do what you do, what should they do right now? If somebody's listening to us and they're in high school and they want to, you know what, maybe I want to become you. What do you think? What should they maybe look for right now in their job?
A couple things. Education, as far as what they're looking for. Communications is a great education in any field. Any field. But then if you want to take that a little further into the preparedness realm, there are colleges now that do teach emergency management. It's a kind of a newer thing.
But it should be something that's focused on.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
you're one man.
But right. And then the other thing is just start at home doing those preparedness things. Start now at home. Even as a kid, you talk about teaching this to the Scouts.
Right.
Exactly. Church groups and so on. It's never too early to start.
No.
We go into schools with Be Ready Schools, part of the Be Ready Utah program, and teach them about building a disaster supply kit. in schools. So
Right.
it's you're never too young to start learning.
And my son's kind of spoiled, and my daughter's, because I'm all around this world of everybody who's in the prepared world, like the Brandon Webbs and the Hughes and these guys. But those of you out there that are listening to us right now, it's up to you to kind of start focusing on yourself and putting. You could talk to your family about being prepared if nobody's talking about it right now. So, if you're one of my young fighters that come in to play airsoft that's listening, and you guys haven't had this talk with your family, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
They can spark it.
That is a great suggestion.
I didn't turn vegetarian until my daughter, who was 6, was vegetarian. She's 14 now.
Oh, yeah?
But I didn't understand until she explained at 6.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, we can learn
I'm
from
just
our
saying.
kids. I know. We can learn from them.
I was like, go to your room. You're eating your tacos. She's like, I don't want this meat taco.
Yeah.
Why? Tell me why. And then I started coming up with my own reasons of she prompted that. We listen to our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to learn from
And
them.
they are the future. So if a young man who was 17 right now said, how can I come work for you? Is there an option for them to go online and look someplace?
Oh, well, yeah, we would help them maybe start doing some of their own
Right.
community outreach.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe they can.
Yeah.
So would they just go through bereadyutah.gov to reach out
Yes.
and say, are you hiring?
Yes, they could go to our bereadyutah.gov website and send us an email.
Right.
It's bereadyutah@utah.gov is the email address.
Okay.
And they can get that from our website. And yeah, if they want to find out about opportunities or how to reach out to their community,
They become a pod for beready.utah in that area that they're in as a liaison. Things
helping spread the word.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what's
our
up.
Be Ready Utah YouTube channel shows videos about how you can spread the word. And that's
right.
what we want people to do
right.
is just start spreading the word.
And that's what I hope that this message gets out there to do.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say thank you for being on Rad Gear. And I want to thank my sponsors, Crate Club. And I'm happy to be living in beautiful Utah. So
awesome.
Thanks so much for being on my show.
Pleasure.
Wade
Thank you.
Matthews, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and for listening. And if you have any comments or suggestions, go ahead and leave them wherever appropriate. And this is Rad. And I want to say thanks again to Zach and the Ready Man Studios here in Salt Lake City that are an incubator for us veterans and those of us out here who have something to do with business. So thanks again, Jeff Kirkham. And I'm out. Peace.